Hello and welcome to Walk, Don't Run, the race walking show. I'm Chris Stafford and I'm here with Cindy Lehman. Welcome back, Cindy. Good to hear from you.
It's nice to be here.
We've done a nice little series here of the Walk, Don't Run show, and I'm really thrilled that you've given us an insight into the sport, which is still a growing sport. It really is a poor relation within the world of athletics generally, isn't it?
Yes, it's almost like the redheaded stepchild of track and field.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of it is that there are so many rules to doing race walking correctly. And when you run, nobody cares how you run. As long as you are the fastest, your form really doesn't matter. But with race walking, if you don't do it correctly, you can be DQ'd. And I think that makes people scared of race walking. And it also makes people kind of, make fun of race walking.
Yeah, that's not fair. Fair, but the only athletic sport I think people do make fun of. But it certainly is a valid sport, and it is growing, and not least of all with the push to get 50K and the Olympics next year for women. So I think what we've seen in the past few weeks with these episodes, insight into the show is, really what goes into it, because, it's a very detailed sport, obviously with nutrition and fitness and the correctness, as you say, of how to do this. And the more women are coming into it, and it is making headway in some respects. So hope we've done a little bit to help promote the sport here. But we should tell everybody we've got another great guest, because all the guests that you've brought to the party have been fantastic. And this week,
thank you.
This week we've got Burnett, who we're going to hear from in a little bit down the road here. But first of all, you've got several items of news. Now, you did mention to me, Cindy, that it's really hard to find news beyond who comes first, second, and first. Now, this is not just with the US Track and Field Association, but it's also with the International Federation as well. As we mentioned earlier, they are the poor relations, these poor race walkers. So why do you think that is, that there isn't the depth of coverage to the sport, within the sport itself, within athletics?
Well, I was in contact with Michael Roth, who is the USATF Race Walk National Team Coordinator and statistician, and it's actually a major frustration for him. And I contacted him today and I said, look, I heard all this news about race walking. Where can I get more detail? And he said, there isn't any. It's just not there. And I think part of it is that, like we said, there aren't as many people who do race walk as run, so it just doesn't get the attention on the websites and in reporting as other prettier and more fun events get.
Only when people break records or get to the Olympics or World Championships does it seem to be noteworthy.
Correct. And even then, in the Olympics, every once in a while, or every so often, you'll find out that the race walk is held at some really obscure time, and the course is in a weird place and doesn't make sense. And even during major events like that, sometimes the race walk is not treated equally with other track and field events.
But it hasn't deterred young people coming into the sport. You've got something of a heroine here. You've discovered a star, rising star of the future, haven't you, in the news about Lauren Harris. I think we mentioned her on the last episode here, but she's really making a mark in high school indoor sport right now in race walking. A star for the future. Tell us what she's been up to recently.
Well, she really is very, very interesting, because not only is she a great athlete, but every interview I've seen of her, she's so poised and really explains herself well. I think she's going to have a great career, not only as an athlete, but promoting the sport too. But on March 11th, she was at the New Balance Indoor Nationals, and she broke her own high school record in the 1 mile. And the time that she finished in was 6:53:44, which is really pretty fast for a mile. She is the only high school girl to ever walk a mile in under 6 minutes. And the first time she did that was last year. The record she broke was 6:57:36, so she broke her record by almost 4 minutes. That's pretty good.
As I said, she's a heroine. She's a legend in her sport already.
I meant 4 seconds, not 4 minutes.
4 seconds, okay. I'm glad we got that straight.
Yeah, 4 minutes, getting her under like a 2-minute mile would be pretty outrageous.
Oh, fabulous. Well, good for her. And obviously she's not put off by the lack of support in the sport because she is making her own mark. Well, good for her, Lauren. And where is she from? Do we know any more about her?
She's at Sackham East High School, and it's in New York, but I don't remember if the city is Sackham East or if that's just the name of the school. But there's a pretty big support of race walking in that area.
Now, what else can you tell us about the news? I think there was something about the Pan Am Cup trials and the Pan Am Junior Championships. Didn't we touch on this before? Tell us what the update is on that.
Right. The Pan Am Cup trials are going to be the first weekend in April. And that's actually what a lot of these high schoolers are working toward now, because most of I'm pretty sure the state and national meets are all over for race walking right now. So for the juniors, they race a 10K. Which is quite a bit different from the 1,500 and the 1 mile. And so the top two finishers in the Pan Am trials will go and represent the United States in Lima, Peru, and that will be in July. I imagine it will be pretty hot in Peru in July, but that's where the race will be held.
Are there any other items of news then before we get to our guest this week?
We do have finish times for a race for Katie after we talk to her, if you want to talk about that now.
Let's talk to her first, and then you can tell us the latest times.
Well, Katie started race walking when she was in 7th grade, and it always amazes me that there are any schools that start race walking that young. But she used race walking as one of several track and field sports that she participated in, but she was actually very, very good at the javelin too, which I find amazing. She went to college at an NCAA school for the javelin, and after a year decided it wasn't what she wanted to do. So she transferred to William Penn University. It's in Oskaloosa, Iowa. Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, really.
But because it's an NAIA school, they have race walk as an event, and she competed there in the race walk. And she has 6 NAIA All-American honors in the race walk and also 1 in the javelin. So now she's working on longer distances than she did in college, and she's working on the 20K, and she's made 5 U.S. teams. And now she also holds the 50K race walk record, which she set in January this year.
Well, we've got Katie on the line right now. She's down in New Mexico. Hi, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So tell us your excuse for being down there and what's happening in the world of race walking in New Mexico.
Well, we just had the USA Track and Field Indoor Nationals this past weekend. It's a bit shorter than our usual distance, so we did a 2-mile indoor walk. I got 3rd there, and now I'm hanging out here for a few more days before I head on down to Mexico.
Okay, so down in Mexico, you go outdoors, presumably. They don't need to be indoors ever, do they, down there?
Well, I've heard some parts of the country get quite chilly, but yeah, there are 20K road races. There's 2 IAAF challenge races the next 2 weekends, so that's where I will be.
All right, well, tell us about this race you just had, the indoor race, because that must be very different race walking indoors to outdoors. So, I mean, it is for any sport, of course, and athletic sport, but you obviously, it might seem even longer when you don't have a view, right? The environment of being indoors must be quite confining for race walking, is it?
Yeah. I mean, it helps that it's shorter, but it does seem to go on forever with the number of laps you're doing. In college, I trained on an indoor track as I went to college in Iowa, and some parts of the year it's hard to get outside, so you just in this mind-numbing going in circles for a while. But fortunately, our indoor distances usually don't exceed 10K, but I've heard of people doing further than that.
Oh, wow. All right, so how far was this you just had, the IAAF one?
Well, this one was a USA Track and Field Champs. It was a 2-mile. We used to have the 5,000 meter indoor for World Champs as part of the IAAF World Champs indoor, but they got rid of that some years ago.
And how did this fit into your schedule then, going indoors and then having to go outdoors in terms of your season? Give us an idea of how you're setting up your season, Katie.
Well, I had my 50K race at the end of January, and then I was kind of recovering. So this 2-mile is more like getting the speed back to go and try to tackle my 20K season. My 2 races down in Mexico are to kind of get me back in 20K mode. I don't think I'll be ready to fully be in shape for a 20K until probably mid-May, but this will help get me the stepping stones I need to get in shape and everything.
So how do you train differently for a 2-mile than you do for a 20K or a 50K?
Well, I might throw in some shorter intervals because usually for 20K work, we rarely go to as short as a half a kilometer, like 500 meters. So I might do like a 1,000-meter breakdown where you do like 1,000 meters, 800 meters, 600, 400, like we usually don't do that short stuff. We try to stick to 1 kilometers and 2 kilometers, maybe even 4 kilometers or 5 kilometer repeats.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just working on that high end because we're not used to, trying to go all out for 2 miles. We're used to doing basically the 2-mile 3K intervals for multiple sets.
Okay.
And so tell us a little bit about these distances, because you hold a record, don't you? You hold the American record for the 50K. This is something that you've been doing. This is obviously we're curious about these distances now because, as you said, it's very specific which distance you race walk. Some people might think, okay, I can do 2, I can do 5, but 20 and 50 is a whole different ball game. Katie, which do you prefer? Talk us through the training for those distances and what your preferences are.
Well, I think I still prefer the 20K, but I do love the 50K. Anything shorter than the 20K, I'm not as good at. Partly, I think, because there's a lot more strategy involved when you get to the longer distances. You need to maintain a high mileage of training week after week. I actually felt that when I was training for the 50K in the fall, the type of training I was doing was more what I wanted to do for my 20K training, where I was getting some weeks up to 100 miles a week. And I know some other athletes in the world, they'll aim for that kind of mileage for the 20K, but I was doing that preparing for the 50K. I know some 50K walkers, they're over 200 kilometers a week. So it's quite a big difference with the type of training. But long days are probably my favorite training days. Anything over 15K or 10 miles, those are my preferred days.
Do you often train alone or do you have a training partner?
So for a long time I was training mostly alone, but this last fall my boyfriend was kind enough to walk some of my workouts with me, so I didn't have to be alone on all my long days, and he helped get me a little bit faster pacing so that I'd be ready for the 50K come the end of January.
Let's talk about what happened, how you got into race walking, because it's an interesting story. You started very young, didn't you, Katie? What was it that how you bit the bug? What was it that really grabbed you and inspired you to take this up as a sport?
Well, so my first year of track and field was when I was in 7th grade. I did junior high track, and I loved track and field. I was like, this is the greatest sport ever. And I was just trying all the events in the summer. My dad got me enrolled in a club track program up in the Seattle area. And I saw a girl doing the race walk one day, and I was like, that looks interesting. I better try this and see how it goes. And that first year I qualified for Junior Olympic Nationals. And that year I didn't make it in any other event. Now, some years later I made it in other events, but the fact that, I was able to get that early success, it really was like, I should keep at this. This might be good. But, I really liked when I would get to nationals and have that competition. But unfortunately, I was the only walker usually in my age group or at all at our local races. So that wasn't as much fun. It's never as much fun to be the only racer.
But you actually had a different sport that you specialized in more often, didn't you? Wasn't it javelin?
Yeah, probably one of my other best events is the javelin. And I actually started college throwing Division I javelin. I walked on to the University of Arizona's track team. Now, I thought the school was a little too big for me. I didn't feel like I fit in, so I ended up transferring to my alma mater, William Penn University, which is in the NAI. And the coaches, they were fine with me doing both race walk and javelin, and they let me do a bunch of other events that I excelled in at the conference meet.
Okay, well, tell us what. I'm sorry, I was just curious what the NAIA is, Katie.
Okay, so you have the NCAA and then the NAIA. They're both different organizations for collegiate level athletics. NAIA is usually more private schools, like my school is a private Christian or Quaker university, rather. So a lot of them will have religious affiliates, or they'll have like a trust behind them. It's just another option. They have slightly different rules for coaches and things. So some schools are in the NCAA, some are in the NAIA. My school switched in 2000 or so from NCAA to NAIA.
Well, you broke the American record in the 50K earlier this year, but you said that you had a really weird training year, that you had a lot of adversity, is I think how you described it.
Yeah, so the previous year, I was training for the Olympic trials, trying to make the Olympic team, and as well as my boyfriend. And after his 50K Olympic trials, our coach dropped us for the year. And that was back in February, and our 20K Olympic trials wasn't until July 1st. So we had to kind of scramble and get things together and try to figure out how to put through the rest of the year. And it actually ended up being like a huge blessing for us. We got invited to go to an altitude training camp with the Canadian race walk team and some of the Australian athletes, New Zealand athletes. And it was mostly men there, so it was really helpful for my boyfriend. But they were also very encouraging to me, and it just helped open up a whole new level of training for us, and really helped turn around our year. And when we restarted in the fall, because I got third at the Olympic trials, but I didn't have a time standard, so I didn't go to Rio. But I used that as motivation to redirect my fall, where I was like, okay, well, I lost that opportunity to go to the Olympics, but maybe I can get in some extra months of training and go after fast time in the 50K. And so, yeah, that really helped us set up a really good fall season.
So I'm guessing Tokyo is the big picture right now then, Katie. Everything leads to that and potential U.S. Olympic selection, right?
Of course, yes.
The big goal. All right. Realistically, what do you have to do then this season and next season to prove yourself and make the progression that you need to lead up to U.S. selection, team selection in 2000 and, help me, 20, right?
20, yes.
2020.
2020. Well, at the very end of 2015, I hit my 20K personal best. It was 137.51. The qualifying standard for Rio was 136.00. Oh. So it's like within 2 minutes, so it's not that far off. So I just have to keep working on getting good quality training in, being as consistent as possible. A few years, like a couple years in a row in this last Olympic cycle, I got injured in the winter because I was living in upstate New York, and it's a little more difficult to train there than in California. So once I was finally able to put together consistent training, my time started really dropping in the 20K. So this year, my goal is to try to get under that 136 flat and make it to the London World Champs. I still have to get top 3 at nationals, but I know what I need to do to race there. I'm trying to get the time before I get to our national race.
Who do you think your top competition will be?
Well, the 20K women have been pretty consistent. You have Maria Michta and Miranda Melville. They've always been, right at the top for the women's 20K. Beyond that, Robin Stevens has returned from a hiatus for quite a few years, and she's right back in there. have, let's see, Sam Cohen, Molly Josephs. They've been pretty consistent, not too far back. Erin Taylor Talcott, she's also improved her 20K quite a bit, and she'll be right in that mix, right in there too. So it'll be interesting to see this nationals, how everyone does.
All right, so I know by looking at you that you do not get that level of fitness, Katie, by just race walking. What's your typical workout, gym, and all the rest of it? Come on, give away some secrets here.
Well, so my physique, actually, even if I did nothing, I would still be pretty toned muscular-wise. My dad's the same way. But I do some work in the gym, and it does help significantly with maintaining consistent training. So I usually do 2 gym sessions a week. If I feel like doing a third one, I might, but usually I just stick to 2. And I'll do like some powerlifting, like deadlifts and squats, but then I'll also do some more specific ones, like Romanian deadlift, which is like a single leg workout. So focusing on each leg, making sure they're individually strong, as well as when you do the power lifts, everything's strong together. I don't do too much of upper body work, but it is important because, with the arm cadence, if you get tired in your arms, you won't be able to keep up the same motion in your legs. So do just a little bit of upper body stuff, but nothing too heavy.
You could pick up a javelin anytime, couldn't you, and throw it a good distance? I can tell.
Yeah, I've got the arm from my grandpa was a baseball player and my mom was a tennis player, so I've got the arm still.
Well, and do you have to change the way you eat during training?
Not too much. I mean, I eat pretty healthy. I eat a lot of vegetables just because I find that I feel better if I eat more vegetables than if I don't. I actually have had some trouble with acid reflux and and IBS, which I guess it's kind of a common problem that some distance athletes get. So that started to limit my diet, because if I can't get through training because my body's turning against me, that's a big deal. So I really started looking into that, and I could still eat a lot of healthy foods, which was better because the least healthy foods were the ones that were the worst for me and the ones that would make me feel the worst. So that actually helped a lot. I think with 50K training, was finding those foods that didn't make me feel upset, but actually could power me through all the training. Because when you do 100-mile weeks, you gotta eat a lot. So yeah,
And I would imagine the fluids are critical too, Katie. Talk a little bit about your fluid intake and what you prefer. What's on the can do and the can't do list?
So one of the things where if you have stomach issues or you kind of throw up is to avoid fructose. I found out. So one of the drinks I use is Invigorate, which is a local Southern California company. I also use glucose on a training day. If I'm fasting before to try to train the fat cycle, I use Noon, which is usually okay on my stomach if I haven't eaten anything. But those ones they work really well, I find, and I have to take in a lot of fluid. So I found out that I was probably taking in about half as many carbs as I need to in my 50K. But it can be hard to get in that much fluid. I trained a lot on hot days in the fall to work on getting the fluids in and to prepare my body for if the 50K is really hot, which it could have been even hotter than it was. I think it was 80 by the end of the race. But just working on that, I might go through a 20-ounce bottle of fluids in 45 minutes on some of those hot days. So you have to be prepared to have a lot of drink and everything to get through longer workouts.
Well, and during a race, do you only take fluids, or are you also eating?
So I take some gels. I like, probably my favorite is the Cliff Bar Raz gel. I really like the flavor of that one. So it's kind of my little treat I look forward to. I try to structure out my 8 and my 50K so that it's not like, oh, I just have 40 laps on this 1.25K loop. It's like, okay, I have this many laps until I get my next gel, and then I'll have this drink, and then I can get a gel again. So it helps break it up a little more, make it a little less.
Those are my favorite gels too, and that's my favorite flavor.
I know, it's delicious.
yeah. It's hard not to eat too many of them.
Yeah.
All right. So Mexico then, and then what after that? When you get back, Katie, what's your next big race?
Well, it's a quick turnaround. We have a couple weeks after my last race in Mexico. We have the U.S. trials for our Pan American Cup race. So going to try to make that team. The top 4 at the trials race will make the team. And then in mid-May, I think it's the 13th and 14th, we race in Lima, Peru for the Pan American Cup. Last time at the Pan American Cup, U.S. women got 3rd place, so hopefully we can have an even stronger team this time around and maybe move up our position.
There you go, and break some more records in the process, Katie, won't you?
Oh, of course. Try.
Excellent. All right, well, the very best of luck in Mexico, and then on to Lima and the rest of the season, and really all the way to Rio, because we've got money on you now. Not Rio. How about Tokyo? All the way to Tokyo. All the way to Tokyo in 2020.
I know. I can't turn back time. Some days I wish I could. But
no, I bet you wish you could.
It's all forward to Tokyo now.
Yeah, I bet you wish you could and pick up on where you left off, qualifying for Rio. But all the way to Tokyo. With the very, very best of luck to you, Katie. Thanks for taking the time to come on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, that was fun. She really inspires you to take up the sport, doesn't she, Cindy?
Oh, yes, she does.
And you have some updates, you said, on her times.
Right. When we talked to her, it was before the IAAF Race Walk Challenge that was in Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. The race was held on March 12th, and Katie finished in 19th place with 1:42.53. She was the only American woman who competed in the event. Her previous 20K record was 1:37.51. That was in 2015. So it'd be interesting to find out why this race she was remarkably slower. There's so many things that can affect it. It could be weather. It could be just about anything that could affect a race. But the race was won by a Mexican race walker named Maria Guadalupe Gonzalez. And she finished in 1:28.59, which is pretty impressive.
Records being broken everywhere, and I can see there's going to be more of this to come. More women coming into sport, just going to keep pushing that barrier even more and more. Well, lovely to hear from Katie. The very best of luck to her, and thank again for coming on the program. Thanks for teeing that up too, because I know you had to track her down. She was traveling.
Yes. We found her somewhere, and I think it was Albuquerque.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, great. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode and this short series that we've had on Walk, Don't Run, Cindy. Now, what about your plans for the season? Where are you racing?
I'm doing a 15K this weekend, and I'm a little bit nervous about it because this time of year it's hard to train. And then I have some half marathons coming up in the next month or so. So the 15K is really training for that. I'm looking forward to the half marathons. They're my favorite distance.
Well, you'll keep us posted, won't you, on what's happening in race walking? Yeah, then we'll post some news on our page for those who are interested in the sport of race walking, because it is becoming ever popular. And enjoy the episodes that we've done in this series with some great guests. And again, thank you, Cindy, for sharing the show with me, co-hosting our little series here. Really enjoyed the time that we've had with you. Thank you very much indeed for what you've done for the show.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
And for a lot more conversations around the world of women's sports podcasts, we've got over 600 episodes in just about every sport you can think of, and some great conversations via blogs and articles and, of course, videos too, all on the website at wispsports.com. You can join in the conversation with us at any time via social media at Wisp Sports. And if you'd like to contact us here with any comments, questions, or suggestions you may have, just drop us a line to info@wispsports.com. I'm Chris Stafford signing off for now. My thanks again to Cindy Lehman, and we will see you down the road, Cindy.
Thank you.
That's it for us. Thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.